If your brand belongs in the heart of the yachting world, this is where it happens. Yachting International Radio reaches over 1 million yachting professionals and enthusiasts every month, with 77 million impressions, 220,000 social followers, and 74,000 podcast subscribers. Our hosts are insiders, crew, captains, CEOs, trusted voices shaping the industry. This is targeted, high-impact advertising in a luxury niche. Visit yachtinginternationalradio.com/advertise. Your audience is already listening.
Top of the morning, afternoon, or evening, folks. It's Captain Liam here on the Bridge of Unbridled, and I've got an exciting opportunity to speak to someone that I actually admire because I've watched his social media and it jumps out as good content, authentic. It's Mr. Elvis Sipe from HMY Yachts. How are you today, sir?
Good, Liam. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Oh, pleasure. I just did the Palm Beach Boat Show a while back, and I got a whole new level of respect for brokers, mate. You know, I was always on this side looking at it, and I was in the show without a boat, and I saw all these brokers working so hard in the heat, trying to, selling their boats and learning the boats and mingling. Tell us your background, though.
Yeah, absolutely. So my background for a yacht broker is a bit unconventional. I jumped in straight out of college, out of university, with a sales background through different internships, different various industries, but never in the yachting business. So I was fortunate enough to know someone pretty close to me that I think we both know, Kevin Merrigan from Northrop & Johnson.
Oh, small world, hey?
Yeah. So
he was here recently on board, so keeping an eye on us over winter.
That's awesome. Yeah. So growing up around him, he was involved in philanthropy through Kids in Distress in Fort Lauderdale with my father. And he was always someone I admired, very charismatic, as you know, and a great broker. You know, he has a great reputation in the industry. So getting to know him and grow up around him definitely made the industry seem a lot more appealing. Yeah. And he also had a similar background as me, where he just went to go buy a boat and thought that it was a cool industry and said, what do I have to do to get into it? Right. Yeah. So for me, not having the captain background or the mate experience, the most boating experience I had was family with boats and working at a boat dealership where I was a detailer for 6 months, and I was
in Florida, correct? In Florida or?
Florida, and my family also had some boats up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, at the Fox Chapel Yacht Club. So I got to experience river boating and going through the locks from a young age as well.
But this, I think that the one thing you have, like as a captain, yes, maybe we make good brokers. Who knows? But I think we're biased in our opinions and our stories because we don't feel the experiences, we make the experiences. Whereas your background, your experience already, I can tell, is you've felt those experiences. You appreciate what it feels like to be on a boat with your family and enjoy that.
Absolutely. And even taking that further, my family is actually in the hospitality and events business in South Florida. So I grew up watching my family build these unforgettable events, right? So when I got into the boat business, I realized it's not just about boats. It's about taking someone's vision for what the day on the boat looks like and pairing them up with the boat that best conveys what they're trying to feel.
How do you do that? I mean, you get a client, for example, and they, talk me through the process, if you don't mind. Not give away all your secrets because you're very successful, but
Sure. Well, I think that you have to be able early on to ask, the questions that some people aren't willing to. I think maybe 9 times out of 10 or 1 time out of 10 people that you meet, let's say, know exactly the model they want. They just haven't found the right deal, but they know what they're looking for, the style of boat. I think where I've been able to find success is they're like, I think I like something like this. Yeah. And then I put something on their radar that they might not have thought about or even heard of because, they're telling me what their day on the boat looks like. And I'm like, the boat that you're describing doesn't have this thing that this boat has. And they're like, we've never even seen that. We want to buy it. And then that's an instant way where you can add value and build trust with buyers.
Yeah, that's what we talk about is trust. How do you win trust and how do you close those deals? Because In yachting, I don't think you can ever find the perfect boat because every boat has a feature that you want. You have to develop. And so trust is probably the biggest thing that the broker develops with the client, correct?
Absolutely. And I think you can get away with getting through a deal without it, but it's really the trust that you build is what keeps your clients coming back. So I say you don't want to try to gain trust because if you're a good enough person, it should just happen, right?
Yeah.
But there's a couple things, I think that stick out. I learned really early on that you should deliver bad news fast, right away. I think there were a couple times early on where something I knew was coming in the survey report or that the seller wasn't willing to fix. And it's like, how do I break this news? But it feels better getting it out right away. And I think later on, once your client can get over what you just told them, they're going to appreciate that you delivered it right away. And then I think also, whether you're working with a seller or a buyer, think of questions that you want to ask that you're genuinely curious about during survey, during a showing to the broker, the captain. What's on your mind, and ask those questions, because your client might not be thinking about those questions, but they're like, oh, that was great. That's something that I wouldn't have thought about that comes into play afterwards during the ownership experience,
Yeah, it's a good point because obviously being a captain for so many years and so many boat shows, I see the relationship between brokers and clients very transparent. Like I see it easily, and the brokers are the most successful, like Kevin Merrigan and yourself. I see the authenticity, and they're not afraid to ask questions. They engage with the crew, but I really also see the client's response to looking at that broker asking the question, and it gives them a little bit more space to feel the boat, if that makes any sense. So they're kind of happier that the broker's engaging as opposed to them trying to ask these questions they don't know.
Absolutely. Because then a lot of the times it might just feel like a showing where the broker's just tagging along, and you really want to earn your place in that deal and be a shoulder to lean on. And that's what keeps clients coming back deal after deal. So
yeah, I learned a lot recently from Mr. Merrigan. It was like, as a captain, we do short-term results for clients, right? He's like, no, a broker is the opposite. It is a long-term result, and you don't know if you're even going to get there at the end. You just have to go through the process. Like we have 1 week to entertain these clients of a trip of a lifetime. But a lot of these brokerage deals, how long do they go for? Like 1 to 3 months, 6 months, maybe? And then a relationship's over years?
Yeah. I think the sales process, I just heard about one the other day where one of our brokers is working on 5 years with one person. And that can be for a number of reasons, right? Timing, the right boat not popping up. And I think that even goes back to trust, right? As a good broker, you have to be willing to ask those tough questions early on that someone else might look at it as this is going to end the conversation, but ask what their timeline is, because it's not going to hurt you, right? So if you can be understanding and on the same page from day one, then you might not be sending the boat that's available today. You might be trying to find out about one off market that might be coming in the next year.
Okay. So the couple of keys takeaways already is ask the questions early and then give the bad news early and honestly as well.
Yep. Speed over everything, always.
Speed over. I think on a recent post, actually, Mr. Merrigan said the biggest mistake he has was not picking up his phone sometimes. You've got to be the first to answer the call and the first to respond and be proactive, So what's the biggest shift you're seeing in the industry right now? Like through the Palm Beach Boat Show, I think it was successful, and the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show. What shifts are you seeing?
Well, I think on a broad sense, everyone's talking about age. I think you're seeing so much through tech and AI of this young new money that's coming in, and something like the average buyer over the last couple of decades has gone down 10 or 20 years, which is an incredible stat. That's not something I'm seeing first person.
Okay.
I'd say really the used market being that it's leading the race. I think so many times before the tariffs or anything like that, new boat buyers were only new boat buyers, whereas now they're opening up their options. Or on the other side of that, clients that are still new boat buyers are getting way more creative how they're going to buy their boats. You're seeing more foreign flagged vessels. people more interested in learning about bonus depreciation. And I think also private only owners are now considering being a charter operation a lot more than they would in the past.
Yeah, it's a lot of information out there. And to be honest with it, must be overwhelming as a broker keeping up to it. We keep up with compliances that change constantly and onboard operations. And I went to the Global Super Yacht Forum recently and listened to Michael Moore, and he talked about the depreciation and different things. And I was like, there's a tough world out there for a broker. You got to keep right on top of it, and your advice has to be legally accurate, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's important to start out that conversation with, this is not legal advice.
Sure, exactly. So a lot of it's, what value do you put on collaboration then? Like, as a good deal, it's not just you. You're dealing with lawyers, you're dealing with insurance companies. Can you talk me through the value of collaboration and relationships in industry? Because you're up and coming. I mean, you've got a name, you've got a reputation. That's why you're here, and you've earned that. But I just want to kind of get your advice on it for others.
Absolutely. Not having a physical Rolodex anymore, but having that contact list of vendors that you can trust, legal professionals you can lean into, lenders, insurance agents, captains and crew. It's you really need to have it on all spectrums, even people that are doing yacht management, detailing, because a lot of the times when you're working with people that are either making a big jump going from the 30-foot outboard boat to the 60-foot motor yacht, this is their first time dealing with crew, right?
Yeah.
And dealing with a whole operation, right? So,
and you're trying to have a good time, and in mind you're like, oh, I hope it's a good crew. I hope it's a good crew.
So that's why it's important to know the good crew, know the good detailers, know whatever it's going to take for them to take this big leap, right? And make sure that it's a smooth process and that they want to do it again. You don't want to hear next year that they're downsizing or that it didn't work out for them. Make sure that it's a hands-free process and that you can give them the right people and refer them the right people to make sure that ownership is as smooth as can be.
So would I be correct in saying the deal's never really done?
Deal's never.
Is that correct?
Never. I think even after closing, you have to remain on top of your people. And I think that's what separates good brokers from great brokers is, are you willing to check in with your people every 2 weeks to a month to 3 months, depending on what their style is, how they like to be communicated with, but also making sure that you're keeping tabs and that they're still happy. And if they aren't, what can you do to make that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not, that's a good advice for everyone out there, because I think a lot of people think that the deal's done when the commission and it's signed and it's off, and it's like, no, a good relationship lasts decades and generations, and that person will recommend you to the next person. And boats, I don't know the statistics, but it's usually 2 to 3 years a boat will change hands. A yacht or a boat will change hands. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I'd say you've got your people that are legacy boat owners and take a lot of pride and they think they're going to keep the boat for 10 years. And then you've got some other people that get out of a boat before a year's over, and that also comes into the same conversation as new versus used. A broker's job is also to advise these people on their buying and selling cycle. So not that you're trying to get a listing and you call up your old client who bought your boat from them 2 years ago, but I think it's important that you should at least put on their radar and let them know, hey, you're hitting this mark in the age of your vessel and you're going to hit an extreme drop off in the value, or you're going to need X, Y, and Z repairs coming up in the next couple of years. So it might be something to consider getting you into your next boat.
Yeah, and my advice for captains on that, don't pretend you're a broker. Let the brokers handle it, because a lot of times I think captains intermingle a little bit too much. Like I know with me, I always say, I'm not the broker is the client of the owner, and I work with the broker to keep the owner happy. That's the relationship. You know what I mean? Because those 15-year surveys, and when owners say, should I list it or should we change? I'm like, speak to the broker. Like I'll give you my opinion, but you really need to get the professional advice. What's been some of the toughest deals you made? Or what's the hardest stage of the process? Where's the toughest point? Is it the survey? Is it the...
Which question do you want answered first? The toughest.
Whichever one you like. That's the toughest deal you had. I don't want you to say names or anything, because people are going to hear this and go, "Oh, that was me."
No. I don't even think, fortunately, the toughest deal has been one that wasn't able to get to the finish line.
Mm.
But there's one I can remember, an international deal. It just had the most layers between a refit, international shipping, and dealing with logistics. I think at that stage, you become more of a project manager than just a broker, transporting the vessel and everything like that. There was a time during this deal where the buyer and I had a verbal agreement with a survey allowance for a number of items that popped up. And I vocalized that to the other side before having anything on paper. So this was a big moment for me where I learned, hallway conversations, even informal agreements, everything needs to be on paper. And I only had to learn that mistake once. So I'm not here to assign any blame because, deals are human and things shift, right? But I had to be the one to deliver that news to the other broker when I had already communicated one number. So
Yeah.
that's one of the hardest spots you can possibly be in as a broker because, you want your word to hold weight and hold value. And, credibility is currency, right? So that was a big learning moment for me and something I'll definitely never do again.
Yeah, some big takeaways here. I can't wait to kind of rewatch this episode because you're telling people the advice that you've learned, and I don't think people are aware of that. That the credibility is currency. I think a lot of people think focus on the short term and trying to get to the next deal, where it's like no, it's a long term game here, and you've got to be sustainable. What's the biggest highlight in your career so far?
Well, I'd say it's actually one that I'm going to be closing up right now. So, not going to speak too much on it,
Yeah.
but really, really cool deal, down east style yacht. I met the buyer actually a year ago at the Palm Beach Boat Show, and this couple was a joy. They were great people to meet and to work with. And they were also open from the start about having relationships with a few other brokers.
Yeah.
So I knew what they wanted. And I was always keeping up with the market. It was a market that I got to learn a lot about that I was unfamiliar with, tracking prices. And, fortunately, with, where the market's at right now, we were able to find the right deal a year later at the Palm Beach Boat Show again
Ah,
and act quickly. So we ended up getting this boat for them from original asking price, maybe 25-30% off.
wow, wow! And how long was it on the market for?
A few months, nothing crazy, but I think a sincere seller and someone who was educated on what the market was doing, and that I think buyers right now have the upper hand.
Okay, that's good advice. In terms of keeping your emotions in check, what's your technique for that? Because it must be hard. It must be like a roller coaster, honestly.
Yeah, I think
You're a very solid guy. I respect that. I like it.
maybe on the outside, right?
It's like me, man. It's like me. It's like,
Yeah, I think you definitely don't want to always show your stress. I think you have to have a high stress tolerance.
yeah,
So many other like sales based roles, you're told to take emotion out of it. I think emotions definitely play into it. You have to um, be open about that, but you can't let it get the best of you. So I think remaining even keeled, never getting too excited, never getting too down on yourself is a way, because this is a business where there's a lot of ebbs and flows, right? And peaks and valleys. And when it's good, it's good. So
yeah.
um,
Well, my
you
advice to others is the high, the lower, the lows. So if you can just keep yourself on a little steady increase, I think it's 1% better every day. Just keep trying to move forward with positivity. You'll be okay. I've got a final question for you, Elvis, here. It's a little bit outside the box. Looking at the industry, looking at your sector and the industry, where do you find there's an area to make it more efficient? And we don't have to talk about AI or automation, but is there some way to make your job better and be better at what you do? What would it be?
I guess we could hire more assistants.
Yeah, there you go. Not the AI ones, because you got to train them.
Yeah, no, I think, look, there's only so much you can take on as a broker in a day, right? There's only so much time in a day, and there's so much to get done. But I think with being efficient, it's ultimately scheduling your day the right way. So on Sunday, I like to sit down and plan out my days. If I know I have a showing or a survey, I'm going to block a few hours for that, but also leave time for prospecting and sending new emails and obviously get back to people that you're working with actively right away, but blocking out your day so that you never get too bogged down, you never get too tired, and that you're efficient as a broker. And I think you touched on AI. I think that's I don't want to say elephant in the room, but that's what everyone's talking about. There's obviously ways to leverage it. I'm learning more and more every day. I think you had seen my video on the website I just built. That was totally built with AI. And I was just talking my way through it with a chat box AI. And that was really cool to see that the capabilities of AI right now. So I'm interested to see where that goes as well.
Yeah, it's impressive. It definitely is efficiency. What it does, I'm telling all the crew too, because on boats we have old traditions and ways things are done, inventory, communication, provisioning and such. This technology can make us so much more efficient if we embrace it, and that frees up time for the human factor. And the human factor is actually the business we're in. We're in the service-based sector where you have time to pick up a client and ask how their family is, how's the son's birthday. That's the human factor. So I'm kind of excited about the technology side of things.
And, they say that AI, I think it's called Waymo, is going to be the AI Uber driver coming up, but I don't think you're going to see an AI super yacht captain anytime soon. So I think you're safe.
Someone has to take the blame, at the end of the day. So, you give the crew the credit and then take the blame. It's a simple business being a captain, and then you just try and do it again and learn. The personal branding side of things, that's a tough market to kind of understand and get into. What's your advice for brokers in the industry, young or old? Because it's a very sensitive topic, I find.
Yeah. And I don't know that I'm in any place to give advice. I'm just getting into it myself, forcing myself to create content. I think, when we had first started chatting about setting this up, we talked a little bit about the content that I was putting out there. And it's something that I've waited a long time to do, because I think, as a broker, you toe a fine line between tasteful content and also I like to remain client facing. So many brokers out there try to, and I'm not going to put anyone or anything like that, but I think that there's so many brokers out there that post content that's talking to other brokers, when someone has to be speaking to the people that are looking to buy and sell. And, I think working through that's been a challenge, but I'm trying to get more consistent at it and come up with new ideas and also educating people, right? You want to be a resource. The only way that your brand can build value and also that you can get business out of it is by educating people and teaching them something that they have never thought about the buying or selling process.
Yeah, well, that's 100% what stood out about, and obviously I've seen a lot of brokers in my career, and what stood out immediately about you was you were client-centric. And I think I wrote that in the message here, is you were client-centric. I'm like, excellent, you get it. Because that's, for me, sometimes we're too crew-centric, sometimes we're too owner-centric. But to me, it's client-centric, which means how do we get these people to have a good experience? We know if they don't have a good experience, they're going to sell their yacht or they're going to get out of the industry. So we have to always go back to what they're looking for mentally,
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. Absolutely.
Yeah, and most what they're looking for is a seamless experience. They want to meet someone that's nice and presentable and smiles, doesn't harass them, leaves them alone. What are some other things that you see the clients are looking for in a broker?
Oh, I think we're back to where we started. Someone that you can trust. I think the biggest thing is someone who is able to pick up the phone whenever you need them. There's been many times where I'm out at dinner with family and friends, and you have to pick up the phone. Depending on who that person is, you have to be understanding that this is a job that really there's no hours for. It's not a 9 to 5. But people will remember. They might not remember you picking up that phone call, but they will remember the one time you didn't. So
exactly. It's the number one tool for a captain. I always have one phone and I always have one spare phone, usually charged, ready, because who knows, if that phone doesn't ring, owners, brokers, no one's happy with me. So it's the business we're in. Elvis, I really appreciate it. It's at Elvis Yachts. I think there's big takeaways here, and just running through them. I think it's important to ask the hard questions early to your clients, give the bad news early, be guest-centric, and then I think the last one you followed up with is the communication. Always make yourself available. Is there any other key takeaways that you want to kind of let everyone know?
Keep pushing, keep working hard, and just do right by people, and it'll take care of you in the long run. So
awesome. And how else can people get a hold of you? It's at Elvis Yachts, and it's HMY.
HMY, West Palm Beach, and my phone number, emails, all in my socials. And also I have my website is yachtsbyelvis.com. So,
oh, great website, mate. I was checking it out about an hour ago. You did that yourself, was it?
Yeah.
Nice logo. I like the logo. Throw an anchor in there with is it the S?
Yes.
Smooth, man. Smooth. All right, Ellis. Well, thanks for everyone. Everyone be safe out there. Keep looking for information. Keep growing, and safe seas.